Star Wars. You see, ever since I was a wee little lad, a youngling, if I may. God, that's kind of cringy. I have always loved that galaxy far, far away. I've always found it very intriguing. I mean, literally, it was my introduction into politics, which is awful to think about in hindsight, but it was really interesting to learn about when I was a 13-year-old child. Actually, funny enough, for some reason, I vividly remember, as a child, I would watch the Star Wars The Clone Wars animated series episodes as they released every single week. And I'd always watch the trailer for what the next episode was going to be, because they, like, made trailers for each episode. And one memory that stuck with me up into adulthood is when I was sitting on the couch watching the trailer for the next episode, and they announced that Greedo was gonna be in the next installation. And I was hyped. I was sitting on the couch like, holy shit, that's the guy that Han Solo shot in the nuts. He's from the OG movies. He's from the olden times. Because everyone knows something from the OG Star Wars movies. Even if you're not a massive Star Wars fan, I feel like everyone knows, like, people say, Luke, I'm your father. I'm not gonna, you know what? No. I'm not gonna correct you. I'm not gonna look like a Dirk and a Nord. A nerd and a dork is what I would have looked like if I corrected you in saying that he says, no, I'm your father, instead of Luke, I'm your father. I'm sorry. Anyways, everyone knows the old movies to a certain extent, except Chileans. Yes, that's my segue. Chile had done something to the OG movies, and everyone in Chile experienced the movie differently than the common public. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was recently going viral on Twitter because, you know how movies have ads in them? That's cool. That's normal. It happens all the time. Everyone knows about that. There's an ad break and a commercial plays, and you're like, ah, goddamn it, I don't want to buy the goddamn Chia Pet. But what Chile did was slightly different. See, there was a beer brand that goes by the name of Cerveza Crystal Beer, and they hated, they absolutely despised ad breaks. They thought it was breaking the continuity of the movie. So they thought, you know what? No. I want to be different, I want to be unique, and I want to be quirky today. So instead, I'm going to just inject the ad directly into the scene of the movie so it looks like it's canon in the Star Wars universe. Now, just explaining that sounds admittedly very strange. Evan, are you saying that someone walked in and said hello to Obi-Wan Kenobi and then offered him a Cerveza Crystal Beer? Yeah, basically. Do you want to see some snippets from the OG Star Wars movies? I found these on Twitter. I found 5 different snippets, and each one gets funnier than the last. But the one that I want to show you first is the one that got translated from Spanish into English, because it will make the most sense for this introduction into what the hell they did to this movie.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Yes. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
I wish I'd known him.
He was the best star pilot in the galaxy. And a cunning warrior. I understand you've become quite a good pilot yourself. And he was a good friend. Which reminds me, I have something here for you. Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough.
What did I tell you? I didn't want to cut into this at all because I didn't want you guys to know when the beer would appear. I almost wanted it to appear like a Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare because it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, what? Your father wanted you to have this when you're older? I mean, maybe, but Luke in the movies is quite literally 19 years old, so that doesn't even work. I mean, it might be different. I don't know, like, galaxy far, far away drinking laws, but it seems a bit off. At the same time, too, like, how does that fit into the continuity of the movie? In what way does that make sense? Because that scene is when you're introduced to, like, the legendary lightsaber. This is when you're introduced to his father's weapon that he wanted passed down to him. And instead he cracks open a cooler on Tatooine where they don't even have water. Like, where is this coming from? And also, like, where did the beer go? Like, the next shot after that scene would be Obi-Wan handing Luke his lightsaber. So, did the beer turn into a lightsaber? Because that's fucking awesome. I'm gonna go buy the beer right now if that's the case. Or did they, like, hand him a sword and a beer, and they're, like, instigating the idea of drinking and swording, which sounds excruciatingly irresponsible for a laser weapon that cuts your limbs clean off. But regardless, honestly, seeing ads in movies is so goddamn funny. I want to see more of them. I want to see more movies try goofy things like this. Actually, no, I don't. No, I don't! Because I've seen movies do that before. I had like a brain blast like Jimmy Neutron the second that I thought about that, because literally the other movie that's done something like this, except way more shamelessly, Transformers. Michael Bay's Transformers. There's a scene, and I think the third one, where there is a Mountain Dew and a Pepsi vending machine that both turn into Transformers and start murdering people. Yeah, no more ads in movies. I lied. I don't want that. Be careful what you wish for. My God. But anyways, there's more ads to look at because this happened more than once. I'm going to show you another one that's Obi-Wan related, and then we're going to move away from him because this one, it's also just goofy as shit. What did I tell you? It's like a goddamn Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare. You'll see him reaching for things in certain scenes, and you know the ad's gonna be there because I've told you. But imagine being someone who's watching this movie in full. Like, you're just watching the whole movie, and after the first beer ad, you're like, huh, that was kind of weird. And then the next one happens, and you're like, this is starting to be a trend. And now, like, throughout the whole movie, every time someone reaches in a dark corridor, you're like, is he gonna go for it? And right as you least expect it, boom! Cerveza crystal beer in a random reactor in the middle of some spaceship. It might have been the Death Star. I don't know. I don't remember that scene. But throughout this entire situation, George Lucas actually was not aware of this going down. You think that they would, you know, contact the creator of the movie to change entire scenes, but no. George Lucas actually ended up filing a grievance with the Chilean Council of Self-Regulation and Advertising Ethics because he was like, hey, stop doing that. That's my movie you're finicking with and putting beer in, you goddamn nematode. But regardless, I want to show you another scene. We're going to keep going down this rabbit hole because I want to show you my favorite, or I guess it's tied for first with the first one I showed you, where someone plays Palpatine. Like, it's hard to explain without showing you, so just give this a quick watch.
Su debilidad es su exceso de confianza.
Tu fe en tus amigos es la tuya. Es inútil resistir, hijo mío.
That wasn't a hand. That was a goddamn glove. That was a glove. They didn't even take the effort to powder up someone's hand to make it look remotely like Emperor Palpatine. They just stuck a goddamn latex glove on someone and said, quick, drop this beer and we'll play the video in reverse. And it's so funny, too. When he goes to sit down, his arm goes out. It's like they planned this from the start, but they didn't, because George is pissed about this. And what's even funnier about this is despite George Lucas getting absolutely pissed at Cerveza Crystal Beer for embedding their ads without asking into his movie, they ended up doing this again to American Beauty, Notting Hill, and Gladiator not even a year after he filed the grievance with them. I guess they just were like, you know what, this worked the first time, let's do it some more. But the thing is, I tried finding those scenes to show you guys, and I couldn't find them anywhere. They're absolutely lost media. If someone manages to find them, send them to me because they're so goddamn funny. But to hold you guys over, I'm going to show you another one because apparently there's some Cerveza Crystal Beer lost on Dagobah as well. Let's give it a quick watch. Like, what's happening here? Are you telling me that Cerveza Crystal Beer just happens to sit in trees? Is that its natural habitat? Is it similar to that of an owl? What do you mean? Like, what is this ad trying to insinuate aside from the fact that Star Wars characters are somewhat alcoholics? And you know what's funny is there is one more ad I want to show you, and at this point, they completely gave up with trying to make it fit into the movie. Because they don't even use the original actors. They straight up bring in new faces to play Luke and Han Solo in a scene on Hoth. They just completely make up an entirely new plot device that the beer is what saved them. You'll see. Watch this really quickly. Now, absolutely god-awful audio mixing aside, which could have easily just happened because this is, like, encrypted media. It's just completely lost media at this point. His ass was not Luke Skywalker. That was a completely random-ass white guy they brought in to act out that scene. Like, at that point, just create a Star Wars-themed beer commercial. Like, there are probably people in Chile to this day, in the modern times, that think that Cerveza Crystal Beer is probably canon within the Star Wars universe. They're probably like, where did it go? Why is it not in the Clone Wars? Why is it only in the OG movies? In which, you know, George Lucas is asking the same damn thing. But clearly the ads worked, because they ended up partnering with other movies in the future. But my question is, why didn't they just partner with George in the first place? I mean, probably because they knew he was going to say no, but regardless, I just think it's so funny that they decided to do this without his permission. It's just such a huge change to the movies. But for now, I'm going to be hopping out of here. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you're somehow alive to the end of this video, thank you, and subscribe if you are new. And like the video to catch me on your homepage more often. I make videos all the time, so I'd love to see you in whatever I make next. But for now, I'm going to hit the road. So thank you guys, and as always, adios, arrivederci, goodbye, good night. And let me just grab something from this chest real quick.
Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough.